What's up, melanated family? This is your brother Harrison, man. We back for a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I'm happy to be back off of my Thanksgiving break that I self-imposed Thanksgiving break, right? But I had a good time. My family does a Thanksgiving dinner for the community here in Sacramento. So we served hot meals on Thanksgiving. That's how I spent my holiday last 4 years, for the most part. That's how I spent my holiday. So that was good. Enjoyed myself. So we back though, right? Because today, in I'm getting into a cycle where I speak to people, and we connect. We have a common interest. We both liked the first conversation type of shit. You know what I mean? So I bring people back on the show, and on today's show, I want to do a proper introduction because this brother's a trailblazer, right? This brother was in the news at one point in time. He was trying to figure something out that's now very, very legal and becoming more legal by the day. But when you first through the door, whoo, when you first through the door, you get it. So on today's show, we have the author of The Audacity of Dope and Perseverance, first book he wrote, which he came on the show previously and talked about that. The new book coming out, Compassion, Consequences, and Criminal Perseverance. On the show today, everybody, author, lawyer, Ron Naulls. How you doing, Ron?
Man, I'm doing great. That's a very generous introduction there, Harrison. Greatly appreciate being on the show again. I'm very excited. It's an honor.
Yeah, because the first book, everybody, he kind of went into his childhood, and a lot of us have similar stories where you're black and you get put into urban environments and you learn from that. You gain perspective by the urban experience that a lot of us have been forced to deal with. So we talked about his first book, everything he went through being a dispensary owner. So that's big stuff. And now the second book, Compassion, Consequences, and Criminal Perseverance. Now talk to everybody about, because I know on the first book, like we just spoke about, it was your childhood. It was how you got to where you are now. What's the difference between the first book and the second book?
The major difference is the second book is almost like a continuation of, starting off as a young black entrepreneur in the information technology industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second book kind of picks up where I pivot into like a philanthropical endeavor, if you will, with a medical marijuana dispensary.
Mm-hmm.
And so that book pretty much is a narrative, if you will, of what I went through to open up the dispensary and to legally operate in one of the fewest, black owned or minority owned dispensaries in California.
Mm-hmm.
And to the eventual raid, going through the criminal justice system, having my kids put in the CPS.
Yeah.
And then, coming out on the other end of all of that as a minority. It was something that was virtually impossible when we were raided and thrown, into all these different situations and circumstances, from, losing financial assets and being able to survive, if you will. Whole racial backdrop behind that, and what occurred and what we have going on today, Harrison.
So and something I wanted to reiterate, and you can correct me if I misstate something, but you opening the dispensary, and this is 2006 or 2007?
2006. 2006.
You're opening a dispensary. This is new to the parameters that our laws in our country have established. So I'm because today I read through some of the report, and I'm like, okay, license wasn't right. I'm like, I'm trying to see what was really going on with that. So, in your opinion, right, what was their mission? Like, what did you do at that point in your mind that made them say, well, you know what, we gotta raid him, we gotta raid his house, we gotta treat him like a criminal, pretty much?
First, to put things into context and to perspective, there was, and to this day, it's a white dominated industry, male white dominated industry. So I essentially was trying to follow that template, if you will, with other entrepreneurs that was in the industry during that time. There was not that, if any, minority representation, if you will. Long story short, I had some really good lawyers that advised me on, hey, this is how you open this type of establishment legally.
Mm.
And in the county where you live, you're not in Los Angeles County, you're in a county that's over an hour away from Los Angeles, has a little bit more of a conservative leaning, if you will. Not trying to draw any conclusions, but this is the type of legal advice that I got from attorneys at that time, and was frank in that, me being a minority, that I may have a higher probability of being raided and arrested. But I felt very strongly, because of this, this philanthropical thing, that, people with cancer, AIDS patients, people that really needed this medication because they're going to chemo treatments and they lived, far away from access in LA or San Francisco, because those were the main areas at the time when we opened, that there was a real need. So how it came about to the raid and all of that, it was, advised that I was given that I had a higher probability being a minority. But I felt very strongly that the law was on our side, had really good counsel at the time. And so I felt, as far as weighing the benefits and the risk, Harrison, that the arrests and any raid would be, fairly low. Also, I wasn't some street pharmacist, if you will, because there's, with this industry, we're dealing with a drug. And I had no knowledge whatsoever coming into the industry. I had to, get with mentors and connect with certain people in order to figure out how to get access to cannabis, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't something that I just, graduated from the street corner and then, wanted to do something that was, quote unquote legal. I felt that with my background and experience as an entrepreneur, I could follow the same footsteps, if you will. But being a white male dominated industry, I miscalculated some things, and that's where the raid comes into play, just to kind of paint that picture, if you will.
But damn, that's beautifully painted. Cause damn, Ron, I'm reading and I'm looking at the legalities they're putting on you, and I'm thinking, this brother's smart. I don't think he would do this haphazardly. So it seems like you're following the same fucking blueprint the white men follow. A lawyer said, hey, this is what the white dudes do. Do it. And they was like, no, Negro. Hey, Negro. No. That ain't for you, because laws, there's loopholes. Everybody listening, every section of our society where there's laws, there's loopholes that businessmen, good businessmen, shrewd businessmen in America, i.e. white men, for the most part, they learn this shit. And they get by. They get a lawyer and say, hey, how can I get by just enough to make this shit pop for me? And they keep doing it and keep doing it. Now they got $1 billion. Who cares now?
Yep.
So you were just following the American blueprint. And they said, no. Not you, Negro.
That's, and I was appalled by that advice from counsel. But man, this counsel is from Oakland, right in your backyard, Harrison.
Yep.
And even in the legal industry, mostly a white male dominated industry. This wasn't a brother that was giving me this advice. This was another white attorney that said, hey, I'm in Oakland and I'm seeing the environment today, and you may not, just letting there's some risk here, even more with you. And you've got, family and kids as well. But again, looking at where we were in the industry, in Riverside County, has over 9 million people. It's almost a metropolis in and of itself, just outside of LA, not even counting LA County. And then you got San Diego right there to the south. And LA and San Diego were mainly the main areas in SoCal where you could try to procure legal medical marijuana during 2006. So, I mean, paint a picture for those that don't know the logistics of SoCal, Riverside to go to LA or to San Diego, always there's going to be some traffic. From Riverside to LA, you're looking at least 2 hours in the best conditions with traffic. Another maybe hour and a half or so to get into San Diego and to get to areas where you can procure marijuana for patients that can't sit for a long time in a car ride, for chemotherapy, AIDS, or what have you. They unbearable car ride trips for them. And so I felt very strongly that the community needed this medication. We were able to go through the logistical hoops legally to set up, and there were some things that came up about the city and that they didn't have medical marijuana establishments in the book. But again, as you mentioned, loopholes, you just talked about this legal loophole in that the city of Corona, and you'll read more in depth in this in the book, but the main gist of it is that there was no law on the books about medical marijuana establishments in the city of Corona. So the legal loop, well, you should be able to open this establishment because it's legal under state law, even though the local city municipality doesn't have it on the books. They can't force you to close if you open your grandfathered in as a new type of business, a new type of entity that the city is, doesn't have enough resources or not is up to game on all the state allowed, businesses. And so they don't update the city codes and laws on the types of businesses that can operate in the city. So there is that loophole, if you will, Harrison, and that's how we open.
Now, and that's what, because reading the legal documents, I'm like, I know this brother is smart. So like I said, the loophole that we're not allowed to use as black men, damn near. Now, talk to me. I want to remind people of something real quick. The situation you just mentioned, your court case, attempting to open a dispensary, doing it to the best of your knowledge. The court case and the things that followed, kind of put you in a position where you start becoming a lawyer, right? That's how you actually became a lawyer.
Yes, going through the criminal justice system mostly, from being raided by the federal government and getting all of your resources forfeited from you. Essentially, you're fighting for your freedom without any money whatsoever to hire an attorney, and so I had to get a court-appointed attorney. In the prison system, they call it a public pretender. For a public defender.
Yes,
and
they do.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You hear some of these stories in the criminal justice system on public, defenders. You learn very quickly, if you're in the actual criminal justice system yourself, why they refer to some of these some great attorneys as public defenders as public pretenders. As a defendant, my public defender told me to just get a plea. And this is something that I heard from other minorities, and that when you get a public defender, mostly they tell you to just get a plea because you're going up against the government and they always win. And if you don't plea and you take them to trial, they're going to throw the book at you. And it's like, man, but if you get an attorney, if anyone has their own representation, they're going to get either early release, they're going to get out on bail, they're going to be able to fight it. They're not going to have to take a plea. And most likely they'll get a much shorter sentence. And this has been proven on many different occasions that minorities are sentenced to longer prison sentences and terms as opposed to their white male counterparts, usually for the same crimes and offenses. But long story short, after having and going through that experience with my own public defender, I was like, wait a minute, I can't be away from my kids for 40 years because that's the jail term that I was facing when I was being charged. So let me figure out how to, let me write this motion, or let me figure out what do I need to do in order to argue, these certain things in my case. And really fighting for my life and for my freedom to be with my family and to, to not go to prison, Harrison. Oh, it motivated me to the hilt to Google, crack open a law book. But you know what? You can't learn to be an attorney in 1 to 2 days or from a Google search and, from just a few. These put hours and hours and years into becoming an attorney. So I eventually enrolled in law school. Thank goodness I was able to find a law school that allowed me to enroll while I was on house arrest and on bond from my case. Because there was a lot of law schools that wouldn't take me, because I was already on house arrest, had an arrest, and pending, a criminal conviction. When you apply to law school, you have to disclose your background and all of this.
Everything. Yeah.
This goes to your bar application when you apply to be a licensed attorney. So they want to make sure they're not letting people into law school that have some really shady backgrounds and also become an attorney. So I was very thankful that there was just one law school, Harrison, that said, you know what, you followed the laws, the state laws. You broke the federal law, but you followed the state law. And there's been successful attorneys that, defend our state constitution, even though it may conflict with federal law. Happens all the time. And I, out of all the law schools, I found that one. And yes, that's what led me down the road, because it was, man, I need to fight to save my life, my freedom, for my family. And I'm not going to learn this overnight. I need to go to law school.
But the thing about it, Ron, the reason why I brought that up and the reason why it stood out to me when I read it initially is because, bro, I'm a black man in America who I've put myself through things by being irresponsible. So I've put myself in situations, right? And all of us, any kind of person, people need to realize you figure out who you are when your back is against the wall, when shit's good, money's flowing, family's happy. We're not so tense. We ease up a little bit. We kind of start cruising. Like, okay, everything's good. That's regular life, bro.
Yes.
When shit's hard, when your back is against the wall, you get a clear understanding of who you are and what you may need to improve upon, as far as how hard you work, as far as how far you will go to accomplish something. Brother, what you was able to do from that situation is nothing short of miraculous, because now I see you as a lawyer helping people who went through the shit you went through. How about that? Talk about some biblical, talk about some scripture, talk about our ancestors. Like, what else could you do in that? Because of course, being a lawyer, I'm sure, helped you, gave you perspective, helped you with your case. But the fact that you took that travesty you went through, because you could have grabbed your ball and went home, but you said, nah, I'm gonna dig into it, and now you helping other people. Bro, this is an American story right here, Ron.
Oh,
this is what it's about, ain't it?
God is good, man. God is good. Because yes, digging in and really, Harrison, that, as you mentioned, growing up as, Black in this country, and my mom and dad weren't together. They divorced, as a lot of families in the 70s and 80s, especially Black families.
Yeah.
I the last time I heard about Black families that the man and the husband and the wife were there for number of years was like in the 60s, and in the late in the 70s. I think the crack epidemic, a lot of things, unemployment, just broke Black families apart. Yes, just splintered Black families. And so having that picture, that context for me as a father, Harrison, was push me to really dig in, because I felt as if my father, and I love him to death today, but there's situations and circumstances that I discussed in the book, The Audacity of Dope, where I felt perhaps my father gave up, as opposed to fighting, for his family. But there's other things that were going on in his life that made that fight for him hard. And but for me, it was like, I need to go through any means necessary, so that my kids can't say that, well, you coulda, shoulda, woulda, it had you. I just had to do anything and everything I could to be there as a father, as a husband, and not be, repeating that generational cycle of and curse of a single parent Black home.
There we go. And what people need to realize, and as I grow, man, I'm 42, bro, but I'm using every day as a new experience to learn. Like, being set in your ways is a horrible practice as an adult in America. You know what I mean? But the fact, because what you mentioning is, because, okay, you becoming a lawyer, the process you went through. Now, currently as a lawyer, how much money you make, the success you've been able to garner because of it, that's cool. But your kids watching you go through that shit, bro, Your kids watching, like you just said, your kids watching you be down and go through something that's life altering, and you fighting. Talk about a father. Talk about inspiration. Talk about when they become adults, you can say, no, you go your ass to college. You do what you gotta do. You see what I did. That's what it's
Yes.
about, bro.
And my daughter just turned 21 on November 29th, Harrison, and she's in her final year at Arizona State. Um, me and my wife were just sitting there looking at each other the other day, like, wow, I remember when you were yelling at me on the freeway because I get on when she's in labor with her, and it's a parking lot. She's like, why the hell did you get on the freeway? And I'm, it's your firstborn, you panicking, you ain't never been through this, man. And I'm like, man, and now she's 21. She's, did we do good? And my wife's like, you know what, we did the best that we did. She's in her last year in college studying chemical engineering. Yeah, you're absolutely right. She was 5 when she was put into foster care. She remembers.
Hey, and that's something real quick. Reading your story again, I know we may have mentioned it when we first spoke, but you guys, if you Google this man's name, all of this shit comes up. Like it was big news. Like I'm seeing articles now that I didn't see then, where it's like, hey, the DA is trying to take this man's kids. I'm like, wait, that's my boy.
Yes.
And they saying, hey, you start a dispensary, you follow the rules as they are set for people, and they raid you like you're a criminal. Take your kids. I'm like, 3 kids. They took 3 kids, right?
3 kids,
bro. What you had to go through, because to my understanding, brother, none of this was nefarious. You're trying to start a business based on something you believe, because what you were just talking about earlier, as far as the travel time, that's real shit right there. But you're not talking about the travel time for the nigga who just want to grab a bag of weed. You're talking about there's people who really benefit from marijuana and don't want to take a Percocet or some shit that's going to get them addicted or ruin their insides. So there's really sick people who, like, they go into a pharmacy, because America loves fucking pharmacies. They love pharmacies. People go to get weed just like they go into a pharmacy. And if it's 2 hours away and my leg's hurting, I don't want to drive.
And that's what we try to educate in the compassion, consequences, and criminal perseverance. It was the Compassionate Use Act, Harrison, in 1996 that was passed in the state of California. The first state that had medical marijuana is legal in setting up these types of businesses legally against federal law. It was, activists like Dennis Perone's, the Angel Raches. These were the pioneers that needed this medication because they were really sick and survived because of this medication, and passed this law in the state of California. And here we are 10 years removed in 2006, Harrison, to Healing Nations opening up. 10 years, a decade has passed since this law was legal, and we're rated less than a year when the business was open, and under a law that was already enacted 10 years prior. And so that's the picture, the context, to try to, like, how did we get to where we are today, where we have 32 states that have some form of legalized cannabis? Where did that start? It started in California in 1996 with a small group of activists that put this on the ballot, that got it passed. And then you had other states that recognized medical marijuana and started passing their medical marijuana laws. And then the domino effect just fell. Now, here we are in 2022, almost 30 years, if you will, since the passage of this Compassionate Use Act, and we're this close on the federal level, but yet a diverse candidate like you and I, that's been battered and bruised from this whole war on drugs and the equitable displacement from marijuana. Now they're trying to give us a seat at the table, but yet we can't get federal funding. We can't get a loan. Opening up a I keep saying medical, a marijuana business today, Harrison, is not a cheap endeavor. And you're not going to go to Bank of America or Wells Fargo to get a loan for them to help you open. None of those banks can deal with any marijuana-based business today. That's the federal banking laws. Because it's still illegal under federal law, you cannot get a loan. You cannot be listed on the stock market. These are the things that still hinder the industry today. But understanding, where we came from with marijuana and cannabis laws in this country, man, it's, you got to understand that history in order to, get to a place of what now we have banking in the federal government. Now we've not rescheduled marijuana from a controlled substance on Schedule 1, descheduling, because a reschedule is just going to open up the market for the pharmaceutical companies and the big business. It's going to push out the minorities. Descheduling is going to, you're not going to have FDA, and all these other industry regulators in the business. You're going to have more of a self-regulated industry, and you don't have to do all these, jumping through hoops in order to qualify, as a business because of the federal regulation. A lot of things going on behind the scenes from the diversity, equity and inclusion perspective, where before we didn't get a seat at the table, but now when we get a seat at the table, we're still hitting these roadblocks.
I'm hearing you talk, bro, and it's crazy how, of course, marijuana is now becoming legal. It was very legalized. A lot of people I know personally have spent a lot of time in jail behind weed in those type of offenses. And so we had trouble when we were smoking it and selling it on the corner. Now, when we want to legally sell it to people in a municipal way, in a legalized way, the same hurdles that attacked our neighborhood is legally attacking the black people who want to do the same shit. So I don't want to seem hopeless in all of this, like there's nowhere to go with it, but we just need to be aware, Ron. We need to tell stories like yours, and we need to be aware so we can learn how to maneuver around some of these things legally. But it seems like it's just set up for us to fail, bro.
And that's why getting involved, whether it be with your local city council, any industry regulators. In California, it's Department of Cannabis Control. When you're able to, for example, let the local city council know, hey, there's money, free money that the state will give you if you license a social equitable applicant. Between you and I, give a license to a black person. City, if you give a license to a black person, the state will give you millions of dollars to help this minority open and operate in this city. And a lot of cities are not aware of the free money from the state. And so it takes people to know what's going on in the social equity environment, and to be able to go to, like I said, having some advocacy with the city council, with your local leadership, because there's opportunities for us as minorities in this industry. It's just, you got to know, you have to be in the know about what information is out there. Every single state has some type of social equity program. New York is the latest one that's trying to allocate the licenses and permits for social equitable applicants. And there's been suits against the states on these social equitable applicants, because sometimes it evolves around, hey, there's more white applicants or more white licensees, other races other than, BIPOC is what you call it, Black, indigenous peoples of color, if you will, that aren't getting these licenses and applications. So they'll sue the state for it. So there's still some things that are going on in order to correct this unequitable distribution. But being knowledgeable about the laws in your state, passing. There's still 12 states that don't have any form of medical marijuana or adult use. One of the biggest ones today, Harrison, is Texas. A lot of the laws on regulating medical cannabis is above 50%. But when you don't have enough people that know, the medical benefits of marijuana, or know the amount of revenue that it'll bring to a city or a local municipality, the amount of revenues that the state can have in its coffers from legalizing cannabis, not having that knowledge is what still hinders the industry, and what still hinders minority folks. So my recommendation is be in the know about what's going on in your state when it comes to marijuana, when it comes to social equity programs, when it comes to the money that states are giving away to city coffers in order to have more social equitable applicants. A lot of this information is out there, but these are regulators that we're dealing with. They're not in the business of marketing or making sure that enough information is out there for the public. Like, you really have to dig for this stuff, unfortunately.
But Ron, so I'm learning, bro, because just like politics to a degree, if you don't like stuff and you want to complain about stuff, rightfully so, you see some things that aren't correct or aren't socially equitable, like you said, there may be some racist intent. Information is king. So yeah, you may not like the laws about getting the dispensary started in your area, and then you can see all the red tape. But before all of that, you gotta equip yourself with the knowledge, because like you're saying, I'm learning right now. The shit's out there. Look it up. Be forward thinking and getting the information, because a lot of the people that's not in our community who are playing with these laws and maneuvering things, they gather all this information first. So everybody listening, yes, racism in the system that we live in affects us every day in different ways. But one of the best ways to combat all of this is equip yourself with as much knowledge as possible. Sometimes it may not help, but I think most times it'll help enough. Insight, it'll give you insight, perspective, meet people. So we got to equip ourselves with knowledge, Ron. That's a big point, bro.
Yep. Or just connect with someone that may have more information. Because when I first came into the cannabis industry, like I said, I wasn't a street pharmacist. I didn't know anything, but I feel comfortable talking to people, and I love learning and connecting with people that have more knowledge than me on a topic that I don't. And that's the other thing that I want to impart to our own people is, what, sometimes with this digital era that we're living in, we're more accustomed to looking at the screen as opposed to the person right next to you, on the flight. You got a 3-hour flight, and this human being right next to you, you haven't even said hi, where are you from, where are you going. And even I had to push myself to do that, but met an extraordinary brother on the flight that I was on, exchanged information, and man, knowledge in the area that I never had any myself. So being able to get out of your your shell, if you will, out of your network, and if you don't have all the information, there's got to be someone that you can connect with that'll be able to help you parse that information, or bring you up to speed, if you will, if there's a large in-depth required in order to gain that information. Because someone like myself, as an attorney, I tell all of my clients, hey, let me deal with all the statute stuff, all the compliance stuff. You just focus on doing what you do best, and that's generating revenue and growing the business. And I'll with the permits, licensing, and what we can qualify for tax credits, or applying for this social equity program, what have you. Let me deal with all of that, and you focus on let's growing the business and generating revenue.
And that's and I damn, this is all interesting, bro, because I appreciate you, man. Like, going through what you went through, like I said, you could have took your ball and went home. You could have studied all of this shit and just used it for yourself and help better your situation. But the fact that you're able to guide people and provide them with information about how to navigate this industry, this is important. And we need to do this again, bro. Like, when new laws are implemented regarding medical marijuana and dispensaries and all of that, I smoke weed. Like I enjoy it. Have since a teenager, and sometimes the legality of it is weird. Like being able to go in a store and buy weed. I'm like, wait, you used to chase us for this shit, but okay,
Yeah.
it's good now. But this is the evolution of our society, and we need to be aware of how some of this stuff works. So the book, the pre-order for the book, will be available December 7th, right?
Yes.
So quickly, give everyone the concept of the book one more time.
So the concept of the book really is to paint that picture of a minority that's operating in a new industry, and trying to navigate that new industry and getting caught up in the illegalities of that industry,
Mhm.
and you know getting to the other side of surviving, getting stripped away from, everything, your family, your money, your freedom, um, all because of your the color of your skin may
Mhm.
have made you more of a target for this new
Mhm.
industry, um, and because of the social disparity that comes along with this drug or this chemical that's associated with the minority, folks. All of that is what encompasses the book, and there's some history as well. History of, as I mentioned, the Compassionate Use Act. History about, LA and how Black people, coalesced in certain areas of Los Angeles, because I grew up in LA, before moving out into the burbs, if you will, and really kind of painting that picture on navigating the entrepreneurial aspects, the social justice aspects, and
Mhm.
the criminal law aspects as
Yeah.
as a young Black man. And yeah, so that's really what this book is about.
And that's important because I think one of the biggest secrets of life, like I think one of the best ways to become the best person that you need to be spiritually, physically, everything. The best way to leave a legacy, because many people talk about when they, when people leave the earth and if you come back or if you go to heaven, all these different ideologies, whatever you believe. My personal belief is whatever you put into the world is what you get out of it.
Mm.
So if you leave a mark based on your experiences, meaning you teach people what was taught should be taught. Whatever you
Mhm.
learn, it's almost your duty to pass that shit on. So what you doing,
Yes.
bro? And I think when people look back, when we go 30 years from now and weed is free in every weed is legal in every state and you can get it at the liquor store, stories like yours is going to be talked about. Like this is the beginning of any type of revolution. Like I said, you the first through the door, bro. You're going to get it the worst. See?
Yes.
So you the what you pioneered in just helping shift the culture, and the fact that now you teach about it, the fact that you have become a lawyer, because I'm sure when you think back to you being in high school or early college, did you think you was going to be a lawyer?
Uh, you, I thought, because that was when AOL, America Online, came out. That's when everything on the internet was bubbling. I was in my little chat room trying to like hook up with some girls and everything. Like, man, this internet thing is gonna blow up. Like, okay, let me. And man, as a minority, it's like, man, there's only whites and Asians in information technology. So it's like, man, if
Mm,
I get into this as a brother, like, man,
mm,
this could really open up some lanes for us as minorities. So
yes.
the internet for me was a
Oh.
big thing. And man, I even talked about this, that digital divide. Like, it wasn't like my mom didn't buy me a computer for me to like jump online. It was, I went to college, and seeing everyone else have these really nice computers, and they're doing their homework in their dorm room and stuff, and I'm on student loans and don't have a computer, trying to go to the library, and you got to go there through certain hours, and like, man, why can't I have my own computer? Went back home and worked through the summer and saved up my money, got that e-machine, you remember the e-machine? You can get Microsoft MSN for free. Got the e-machine and Harrison. It just from there, um, but but then there was that pivot into doing something philanthropical because I was already doing a information technology business. So I wanted to do something that was more like a benevolent, if you will, because I had family members that were diagnosed with cancer and saw the benefits of marijuana. Didn't even know about the benefits of marijuana until speaking with a doctor that said, you know what, this whole cancer thing, I'm really not supposed to, recommend or say, but I have a lot of patients that had success with marijuana, as they're going through treatments with cancer. And I'm like, what? Like, this is, this, he felt, scared to give me that information, but he cared so much for my family member as a patient that he risked his license to give us that information, and it was life-saving. And so that to me as an attorney today is what I'm trying to do is provide that not necessarily life-saving information, but information that doesn't allow us to change the generational wealth, if you will, for minorities, to be able to have more representation for the over almost a century, since 1930 when marijuana was illegal in this country, that we've been incarcerated, arrested, and jailed, to be able to make an impact from that perspective as an attorney is why I wake up, so excited every day, like, and so blessed. Because you're right. It could have went in a totally different direction. I could have gave up, but that's another thing is this whole story is about as a minority, not to give up. And it's the ones that keep perseverance. That's the word I keep sticking to is perseverance. Like,
that's the key.
Nipsey Hussle said it's the marathon. The marathon continues, and
that equates to perseverance.
And a lot of minorities, it's really hard to knuckle down and really hone in on your perseverance when you get knocked down so much and you see others doing much better than you are. You're looking at how old you are and you're like, what, how did that person pass me? Yeah. Or, you go on social media and you're like, man, I remember when we were both broke and now I'm still broke and you balling. Like, perseverance. Yeah. Like, your life could change overnight. Things can happen in the snap of a finger. But we as a people, we just have to keep, persevering. You have to work 10 times harder. You have to, go above and beyond, because we're not going to get the same hand dealt to us as, our counterparts and others in this, business industry, what have you, that are way more connected, way more entrenched, and have way more experience.
Yes, so you do have to work harder. And I tell people all the time, acknowledging what the system has done that doesn't make you excuse written, right? You have to acknowledge and learn history, because if you don't understand history or get a grasp of it, you just might help repeat it. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's important that you learn this stuff, and then, while doing all of that, you keep your personal level of accountability at the top of it all.
Yes.
So you'll be fine. See, because I think because I'm throwing out that this brother became a lawyer after going through some shit. That was hard. Like, that was a long time. This is a lot of nights. People look at what I do sometimes and say, hey, I want to start a podcast. I'm like, cool, do it. But the hour that I spend with a person is like the game. Yeah. That's like, whoo, I get to dress up a little bit. The lights is on me. I do this talking shit. But you don't see me editing videos. You don't see me reaching out to people. You don't see me. It's much more work behind the scenes than on the camera. And that shit ain't sexy. Ain't nobody watching me. Ain't nobody up seeing me do it. Nobody's seeing but my creator. So you want to do that?
Yes.
Is that how you get the work done?
Moses toiled in the desert for 40 years before God called him, after he killed the Egyptian, and he ran off into the forest and didn't want to get caught. I want to say it was 40 years, and the whole point of that story is you will toil in obscurity And then when you're called, you will reap the benefits from your toiling.
And that obscurity can last 6 months or it can last 6 years. The
Yes.
40-year thing, that's the moral. What you
Yes.
going through can last a very long time. But if you
Yep.
stay down, if you stay positive, you will get to the other side of whatever that thing may be. Because just like you mentioned, being black in America, sometimes you get caught in a rut.
Mhm.
Generational curse. My mama didn't have money. My daddy didn't have money. Nobody owned a house. Nobody had a business. But I'm looking at people balling. I'm looking
Yeah.
at people do good things. And I just feel I don't have the tools. You got to start learning.
Yes.
You got to start learning. You got to say, I'm not a victim. This is how I was born. These were my circumstances. But I can do, when they say you can do whatever you want to in the world, sometimes I cringe when I hear, but in essence, you can.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot that you can do being in America, being in one of the most fruitful countries on the planet. That's why people come here, because of what you can make of yourself. And being black, there's roadblocks. But learn your fucking history, man. Learn, if you want to get in the cannabis industry, listen to brothers like Ron. Reach out to brothers like Ron. Get some of the game about how some of this shit started, how the roadblocks he had to face shouldn't be the roadblocks that other people coming behind you face, because the information is out there. You feel me? So this
Yeah.
is my brother Ron Naulls, man. We gonna keep doing this. This is his second book addressing being black in America and coming out of rut and realizing how to do shit with yourself, but also addressing a historic court case he had to go through, and it affected everybody, him, his family, his livelihood, everybody around him, and he had to get back on the horse and do this shit, man. So I'm proud of you, brother. Do me a favor and tell everybody December 7th, where can they pre-order the book?
On Amazon. So the pre-order will be live on Amazon. Also, knowlslegal.com. It's our client website where we're going to have the book listed there as well. But Amazon is where you can go and actually do the pre-order, and December 7th. And we're looking to drop soon after that. So yes.
Yes, I'm excited about the book. I'll be doing some promo for it around the time that it come out, just as far as posting the book cover, and you know what I mean? We gotta stick together, brother. So I appreciate you reaching back out to me, man. I appreciate everything you're doing for your family and you being a stand-up black man for your family. Because look, I always tell everybody, I'm on some revolutionary shit. Like I wanna, when it all go down, I want to be the first through the door. I have my fist up. I'm gonna wear my shirt. I represent our blackness, our melanated skin in a particular way. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to do it. One of the main ways you can do it is have a family and stick together with them. How about
Yes.
that? Love
Yes.
your goddamn kids, black man. Love your kids. Show them inspiration. And this ain't talking. This ain't saying go out, be great. You can be great. You can. Ain't nobody listening to what you saying. Everybody's watching what you do. Did you know
Yes.
that? Talking
Yes.
ain't really shit nowhere. But your actions is what's gonna stick with the people around you. And this brother showed his family, if you ain't nothing around here, you see what I had to do, and you ain't even got to say it because they watching you, brother.
Yes. Let me give some advice for my black fathers out there, because I got kids all over the spectrum, and you touch my heart. When you talk about family and your kids and being that role model as black men. For my oldest daughter, she's 21. She's in college. She's away in Arizona, and I don't get to see her at all. But I make sure I text her Monday through Friday every morning, some type of inspirational quote, just to let her know that I'm thinking about her, that I'm praying for her, and she can wake up in the morning and expecting something uplifting and something beneficial that can help her advance in her life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my youngest son, he's 5, Harrison, and I actually put in on my phone to schedule to play with him, because we get so busy with our schedules, and
Man,
we
come on
want
now,
to make that
Ron.
money and everything. We want to be able to provide for our family, and you get so overwhelmed that you can block out your family unintentionally. So on my schedule, I have on Tuesdays and Thursdays, at 6 o'clock, me and my son are going to play for a couple hours before he, goes to bed. Why is that in there? Because it makes sure that me as a black man, that I'm helping another black young man know that he's loved and that he's cared for, and we're going to play and we're going to have fun. And that there's going to be always that interaction, and that daddy was always working, and he never gave me any time. So just so little tidbit, things that I do as a father to try to, as you mentioned, break that generational curse, be that the head of the family, be that example, but not be the stereotype that they hear about, black fathers, that we are absent, or that we don't, we just spank our kids. We just come home and we just whip the belt off of our waist. I'm not that kind of father. I make sure that I discipline my kids. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. But I want to make sure that, when my kids grow up and they have grandkids, there's this new standard when it comes to being a father, a black father in this family.
And that's a revolutionary act. So people are doing different things for our people to bring awareness and to change the trajectory. People march, people protest, people become elected officials, people do what I'm doing, people talk. But one of the biggest things all of us can do as fathers is just be around your damn kids. Make the connection. People don't know their kids. I'm learning this. I got 5 boys. I'm learning. He's at a different stage of his life now. Do I know him at this stage? I got to reconnect with him at 17. He ain't 7 no more. Yes. I can't just dictate what needs to happen and where he need to go, what he need to do. At 17, do I have the same connection? I got to talk to him. I got to break down these walls, ask questions, get him to talk to you. It's a process. And unfortunately, a lot of us didn't learn it.
Yes.
Or Ron didn't see it. We didn't see it. So we that first generation of, we're going to be in this house. We're going to sit around this table. We're going to start these new traditions that help black people. We're doing it right now. So everybody, please, the name of the book, real quick. I want you to say it, but I want to say, I like the name of the book. You do a good job naming your book, sir. I love words. So I'm like, I love this book. Compassion, Consequences, and Criminal Perseverance is the next book. Pre-ordered December 7th. The book is coming out in February. Ron Naulls is a lawyer, author, technologist. We didn't get into that. The brother has information about the marijuana industry. He has information about a lot of things that our community can benefit from. So I'm going to have this brother back. He has a wealth of knowledge and experience. Ron, brother, I appreciate you being on the show today. Tell everybody how they can reach you.
Naulslegal.com. Definitely reach me there. Also, I'm thinking about getting back on my Twitter. It's R Naulls at Twitter. It's been vacant for a while, but with all this hype and madness going on, I think I want to start reaching out and connecting. But yeah, Naulls Legal, and at the Twitter handle. I'm on LinkedIn as well. You can just look up Ron Naulls. Not too many Naulls on LinkedIn. And connect with your boy.
Definitely. So I'm going to be posting stuff about his book when it comes out, but this is a story of getting through something, everybody. All of us is going through something. Either you're in a storm, you just got out one, or you're going into one, as my brother Scarface would say. I stole that from Scarface. but that's the truth. We all at one of these positions. And look, life can be great for you right now. That's a little easier. Maybe you worked hard to get there. Don't get me wrong. But when shit hit the fan, that's who you are. How you react in those times is who you are. So we need to use stories like Ron's, other stories that we see. We need perseverance. You need to keep going. You got to keep going. So this is your brother Harrison, Melanated Convo Podcast. My brother, lawyer. We got to put that title on it, brother. He put in the work to get there. Lawyer, author, Ron Naulls. Get the book when it come out in February. This has been another episode of the Melanated Convo Podcast. Follow me. I'm forgetting about myself. Follow me. Instagram, Melanated Convo 100. I'll be spitting that fire, man. If you don't know, you need to know. On YouTube, the Melanated Convo is the name of the YouTube channel, melanatedconvo.com. Keep following me, man. I'm going to have these conversations. Y'all going to learn one way or the other. One way or the other, you're going to start loving yourself if you fuck with your boy. You know what I mean? So this is your brother Harrison, man. Melanated Convo Podcast. We out. My brother, Ron.